All right, welcome back to the Parkour UK podcast. This is a special one. We've got all the team on the couch. We look like a Bucks party with all our matching t-shirts, and we're ready to go to sort of just say what we've been doing as an organization. The organization, as it is now, has existed for 2 years, essentially. So we've all been working for Parkour UK for about almost exactly 2 years now, except Callun, who's been working for 3. And this is the team that is employed on like a contract with Parkour UK. So most of us are on 2 days a week, and then Nadine, Sam are on like full time, essentially. Cool.
3 days.
3 days, yeah, you're on 3 days, Callun. Yes, that's kind of the lay of the land, right? So when you're thinking about what's Parkour UK doing, these are the people, generally speaking, doing it. We have a board, we have, other people in and out. But we're just going to try and answer all the questions people might have, and hopefully this will serve as like a really good resource for where our £1.5 million over 5 years Sport England funding has been going, what we're doing, and what we're not doing, right? Because we can't do everything. So I'm going to start, we're just going to go around the room, and everyone's just going to say their name, role, and sort of how they found themselves working for Parkour UK. So I'll start. Obviously, I'm Max, Connecting Communities Lead. People know me from if you've watched the podcast before, but I haven't really said how I found myself in this role. So I've been doing parkour for 13 years now. And I've been living in London for like 8 years. And I remember work freelance as a filmmaker, and this role came up, and I'm always super interested in doing stuff to do with the parkour community. I've been running events and doing film projects, and always try to get involved, really. And then the opportunity to sort of get paid to do stuff involving the parkour community, Connecting Communities Lead essentially is like a role where I try and put on projects and create content for the parkour community. Found like a great opportunity. So I applied for it, got it, and been sort of happily working with these guys a couple of days a week ever since. Callun?
Cool, yeah. I'm the digital lead at Parkour UK. And like Max mentioned, I've been with the organisation for 3 years. Parkour UK was on my radar pretty early on. So a little bit of backstory. I started training parkour in 2012, absolutely loved it. And then around 2016, the local town council from my hometown, Horsham, banned parkour in the town centre. And then a couple months went by, we had a few meetings with the council. And then in the January of 2017, Parkour UK got involved and made parkour an official sport in the UK, which meant that the town had to change the banning of parkour because it was now an officially recognised activity that people could go out and do.
So you got one of those street signs, that crossed out.
Yeah. So I've got the original photo of the parkour ban, and then I've now got the updated photo where it says no unauthorised access to buildings or street furniture. Pretty washy. But after that, it became an official sport and stuff. The relationship with the council started building as well. So kind of from then I was always sort of in debt to Parkour UK a little bit, because they kind of did a massive solid for us in Horsham and the Horsham town community. And then in 2022, as part of the funding from Sport England, they were advertising some job roles. And one of them was for a digital support role. And I'd just finished, let me rephrase that. I was doing a digital marketing apprenticeship, which I didn't finish just for personal reasons in the previous job that I was in and stuff. So I applied for the Parkour UK role using what I kind of learned on that course and got the job. So I've been with the organisation since June, July 2022. And again, we'll probably touch on some of the stuff later, but some of the personal struggles that I've had with parkour, challenging the town council, trying to change the public perception and stuff, is what kind of goes on with some of the stuff that I do in my role. So, I will touch on that on a bit more later. But yeah, that's kind of what I do. So.
Hi, I'm Nadine. I'm Head of Operations and Development here at Parkour UK, and I've been in post for about 2 years now. So I'm not from a parkour background, but I've always worked in sport. So various roles, from working in sport development for local councils, PE teacher, and working for active partnerships. So always been involved in sport. My sport was gymnastics, so I've come over from the dark side. And yeah, just really interested when I saw the job come up at Parkour UK, obviously a much smaller national governing body. I used to work at British Gymnastics, so bigger governing body. And just the opportunity to work in a national governing body that was up and coming and didn't have all of that old baggage that a lot of sports carry with them. And it was, the job looked great, the sport looked great, and I applied for it and was lucky enough to get it. So yeah, that's pretty much how I ended up here.
Hi, I'm Julie. I'm the People and Coaching Lead. I started with Parkour UK in January 2024, and my role kind of mainly revolves around courses, so kind of the logistics of that, and then at the moment working on restructuring our current courses and some new courses. I came to Parkour sort of via my son, who was a coach and trains, as part of the community. And I worked in a parkour gym for about 18 months. And then when I saw this role come up with Parkour UK, I thought it sounded really interesting. I've also worked in education, so it was a nice kind of balance of things I've done before. So yeah, that's how I started.
Hello, I'm Charlie. I got involved in Parkour UK because when I was a teenager, I was in a parkour team that would travel around and do jobs and deliver seminars and compete. I was part of the parkour economy and community. And then when I wanted to transition away from that, I had all of this experience and all of these skills and all of this knowledge about this very specific niche sporting subculture. And I was developing a load of professional skills and trying to build a career in another field. And I saw this post. It was part-time when I was applying to my master's. And I was like, this is perfect. It blends all the professional skills that I'm trying to build, the career I'm trying to build, and also uses all of this knowledge that would otherwise go to waste. I would just have my time in the community and then fizzle out and nobody would hear from me again. I can take what I did when I was a teenager and apply it, hopefully, usefully. I think we're doing okay. I think we're doing a good job. So that's what really made me want to do this job. I do connecting community support, so similar to Max, I just help assemble and deliver stuff that engages with the community. We do outreach stuff. We try and learn as much as possible. So I thought with my background, I was well positioned to kind of help out with that stuff. Again, I've been here 2 years, and yeah, I really enjoy it.
Cool. Hi, yeah, I'm Sam. I'm Chief Exec here at Parkour UK, and as with most people, started 2 years ago last week. I think, right? Yeah, started at the same time. So yeah, Callun's our longest. So did you say 3 years?
3 years, yeah.
So you're the elder.
I am, yes, senior. I'll take that.
Yeah. So yeah, my background is in coaching, so in strength and conditioning coaching, which is almost 30 years, I suppose, I've been involved in elite sport. So started out working in the Sports Institute system when that started out, then worked in professional sport for a long time, in cricket and rugby union, then back into Olympic, Paralympic sport. And then I suppose naturally as these things, you kind of take on more kind of leadership roles. I did some academic work around high performing teams as well. And then, yeah, really all about sort of building teams, leading teams, strategy, culture, all that kind of stuff, I guess is my wheelhouse. I spent most of my time in big governing bodies. So I was really interested by some of the smaller, earlier starting out sports. I think that would just be a really different challenge to work in. And also, although my background is not in parkour, I think with the S&C and the physical bit, I feel a real affinity to the physical culture side of it and that sort of, and the discipline of that and things, which I really like. But I think I'm just driven by, just want people to be active and do something. So I'm part of community. I think sport's got an incredible way of bringing people together. I mean, think the six of us, in many other areas of life, we wouldn't be sitting here together, would we? It's parkour that's brought us together, the sport that's brought us together. And we kind of connect around something common, but we're all really different. I think I think sport is unique in that way, the way it does that. I think otherwise people are in groups which are quite sort of homogeneous, I think. So yeah, it's just, I love being in sport. I think we've got an amazing opportunity with parkour to have more of an impact on more people's lives. And I will talk about what we're doing in a minute. I've loved it the last 2 years. I mean, there's been some challenges, of course, to have, and people have challenged us hard, which is brilliant. The community have been really open and honest with us. But yeah, I think we're making some really good progress and really enjoying it.
Yeah, for sure. And I would also say that, especially being someone coming from an outside of a parkour background, I've been impressed how much you fit into the culture of like kind of going against the grain, pushing the limits of what we can do sort of with our funding or what a governing body should be doing, and like being a little bit anti-authoritarian, a bit out there, and I feel like it's fit really well because parkour is really like that, and I feel like you really fit nicely into that culture, which might be quite different from a lot of other sporting cultures, right? So what we'll be doing is we're going to talk about, each of us are going to talk about our roles, what we've done, what we're doing, what we're not doing, and what we hope to do. Then we're going to answer some community questions that people had, and some just themes that come up, some devil's advocate questions, we get challenged pretty hard by the community, and we're going to try and answer some of the main challenges that we get given from them. We'll do an overview of our sort of organizational strategy and just say where the money's going. So to kick off, just if you wouldn't mind, Sam, just like briefly overviewing our strategy as an organization, and then we'll go into further detail later.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so we'll try and, I think, whistle through this bit as a start then. Probably just a little bit of history to start that, because I think people will be coming from different points, and I'm sure there's people out there who know more about Parkour UK than probably any of us, but there will also be, people who are new to it. So recognised as a sport since 2017, and that's like a formal process with what we call the sports councils, so Sport England, Sport Scotland, Sport Wales, Sport Northern Ireland. They have a process by which you apply and you can be said, yeah, you're a sport. And that's probably significant in the way that it opens the door to funding, and it gets you into certain conversations in certain rooms when if you want to grow and develop your sport, it's pretty challenging to do without. So that's the first point. Some of the people who were here before us, I think, did a fantastic job in securing some initial funding, and we're sort of working with that now, and we'll get more into the detail of that in a bit. As far as our strategy goes, when I started and spoke with all of you, but also with our board, I think Max, you talked about that before. We've got a board which is a combination of independent members who come from outside the sport, but then we've also got elected directors from Parkour, so it's a really good mix. When I spoke to everyone at the start, said, right, well, why are we here? Everyone had their view of that, and everything was really credible, but it wasn't necessarily the same. And so working with Tracy, our chair, and myself, worked really hard to get really well aligned as an organisation, right? What is it we're here to do? And what are we going after? I've spent lots of time talking to our community about that, listening to as many people as we could, really, who had a view on that. So I've got a personal view on this as well, that I think in the day and age we're living, if you're going to be in receipt of public funds, you've got to do something that really has a public good out of that funding. So, historically, you might have had sport for sport's sake, which was like sort of a bit of an insular club where people got together and did their thing. There's nothing wrong with that, but that doesn't necessarily serve much of a greater social purpose beyond just you as a group. We've, I suppose, made a bit of a pivot in that regard. Our purpose now is all about building confidence for everyone in their lives, right? So they can take on challenges and overcome and take opportunities. And if you think, there's 1 million young people on NHS mental health waiting lists for anxiety and depression, whatever you think of it, described in different ways about a mental health crisis. One of the biggest things I think we can do is give people confidence for the rest of their lives, right? And by engaging in the sport. So that is our overall purpose. That's the thing that should be that North Star, if you want to call it that. How do we do that? Then when we get down to slightly more tangible, so if you think, I always think of a purpose as that mountain you're never quite going to climb. It's always there. It's always a bit out of reach, so you're always gunning for it. Then we've got this mission, if you like, which is something you should absolutely know if you've achieved it or not. And that is in 10 years' time that all children and young people will have had the opportunity and capability to do parkour. Now, how we define that is what we work on, but ultimately we want it to be available to everyone. And so great example would be skateboarding is now a GCSE subject, so you can pick to do that at school. Like, how cool is that, right? So we want parkour to be part of the offer for young people in that way. And then the sort of the next level down of that mission is in the first 3 years, a real focus on females who are of low socioeconomic status and are inactive. When you look at the data on sport, physical activity, people who already did sport are actually in many cases doing either the same or a bit more, doing quite well. But the really stubborn thing is those people that aren't active, that aren't engaged in sport. And we collectively felt that parkour has got an amazing opportunity there because it's super accessible. Half a decent pair of trainers is all you need. You might go to a parkour gym, but you may not. Relatively cheap, and also then the community that can build for those people. We think parkour's pretty special for. So a real focus on reaching those groups. Now it's worth saying that that's not excluding others. Like when we talk about maybe our values a bit later, our first value is about being inclusive, right? But in any strategy, if you want to call it that, you've got to make choices. And I define strategy as making a set of integrated choices. And that's as much about what you don't do as what you do. We're really ambitious, we're really driven, but we're also small, right? We've got us here and then a few other people who chip in at different times. So it is small and we've got to be really focused on what we're doing. And then the final bit of that strategy is then to achieve that sort of why that I've just talked about and that mission, we've got 3 pillars that we'll use to go after that. First is digital first, and you could say technology really with that. So we're looking across everything we're doing. How can that be digital first? I think parkour is amazing for like the creative stuff. So that on Instagram and everything else, and some of you guys create stuff as well. So there's a real affinity of that as a sport. That also I think means we have to be really good as well because the standard is really high. We've got to be on our game. But also, although we want people to really come together to do something really human together, like the way they're going to get there is basically through their phone, right? I mean, we've all got here today, we've all done that through our phone. So we see that as like that parkour in your pocket, if you want to call it that, enables people to find their community, to find how and where they do parkour, but then to come together to do it as a human thing. It's not about a metaverse or something like that, not at least in this sense. And so then 2 other areas. Second is partnerships. We feel that we can move faster and further if we do everything with others. And also, I think our world can be just so disparate and so siloed that connecting and bringing groups together, I think that really links to those parkour values about community and belonging as well. We want to do things with others, and we'll probably, as we all talk through the great work you're all doing, have lots of examples of where we're doing that in partnership with others and people that share that purpose. And then the third bit is about people. I think in any human endeavor, like the people have to be central to that. And if that's the case, then you've got to invest time, resource, effort in those people, in making sure you've got the right people, first of all, but then supporting those people to develop, to grow, to do things they've never thought was possible, to do amazing things. Like I believe in the power of humans to really, to do incredible things. And so we really want to focus on that, and we've got a real focus on like coaching and people development, which Julia talked about a bit, the stuff we've done, all the stuff we're doing in a bit, and why we feel that, if you put it another way, we won't achieve those outcomes if we don't have lots of amazing people who are also working with us to it. So yeah, that's the overview.
Yeah, fantastic. And just to add one point onto that first point is, so the previous organization who did make us an official sport, who secured all the funding, who are the reason that we're here, even though it's different people now, we were the first sport, new sport in 50 years. So it's quite amazing that they managed to do that. They must have been sort of like drowning in paperwork for quite some time. So I was always I don't really know any of those people who did it personally, but I was always quite impressed by that. And that's, it's a really good precedent. So like skateboarding, despite the fact that they're way ahead of us as a sport, they did it after us, right? Because they had to for the Olympics. So however they did that, fair, and that's the reason why we're here, trying to make things happen for the community and try to make the sport an option for everyone in the UK. All right, cool. So we're going to kind of go through what we're doing in our roles. So for me, Connecting Communities lead, the biggest part of my role has been running this podcast. So this is the 17th podcast so far. They've been hosted in London so far. I've been either getting people London-based, bring them in from just outside, or catching them when they're in London. But I'm going to hopefully move it in the coming years. So what were the themes on this podcast? What are we trying to achieve with it? initially I was like, right, let's get a bunch of different people on telling different stories around the themes of what makes a great community, what transferable skills can you get from parkour to bring into other areas of life, and then sort of following different avenues with each one. And so the overall goal for me was to get loads of different stakeholders in the community and kind of learn something from each one. So each podcast has a different outcome. What's the word? A different like what we're trying to get out of it. There's a word, but I missed it. Anyway, it wasn't very eloquent.
We're not helping you.
Yeah, it's like 4 man here, just like 5 people here, just like not helping me at all.
Goal?
A different goal. There's a better word, but yeah, that we'll go with goal.
You didn't have any word.
It's a different theme. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, it's a good example of like the digital first bit, right?
Yeah.
Right, how are we going to reach more people with this content? Yeah, you've been out and meeting people, but actually we felt like by doing something like this, you've got people internationally engaging with it.
Yes.
Which is amazing. And so, yeah, real focus on actually how we can get content that really makes a difference and that's original as well. Like some of the stuff you've had on has been so cool.
Yeah, so some standout examples. I think my favorite or one of my favorites was the Flora podcast. So it was an amazing story of like sort of being unconfident, not feeling good in her body to being like a top tier, incredible athlete through this sort of weight loss parkour transformation. She's an absolute weapon now. Obviously, we had like all the FemGaps girls on the couch at one point. We had like 8 people on the podcast. That was good fun. We had Bo on there talking about starting parkour in his mid-40s, and continuing still like over 10 years later, and how it's just been like this driving force in his life. So we've had like, we've had a mum and son on there talking about how incredible it's been for them. And so every podcast has had a different like outcome essentially, and we're trying to learn something different. It's not just like, let's get a great athlete on and learn from them. Although the most recent one to drop, the Orlando podcast, which is performing best so far, was that we talked about, progressing, committing as an athlete. But essentially, even though I ask some of the same questions on the podcast, like I always ask, what are the best transferable skills you get from parkour? We always have different answers. And I try to provide value, one, for the community, for anyone who's listening, because most people listen are already really involved in parkour, to provide some useful, like actionable info that they can have either to improve their training or their experience, or think about, I don't know, parenthood, like with the James Adam Ward podcast, still managing to do parkour with his 2 young sons. And then also I try to provide enough context for someone who is taking an interest in parkour from outside the community, who can listen to it, learn something, try to get an idea of what it's actually like to do the sport, and maybe give it a go, or get their child interested in having a go. So there's 2 potential audiences. I acknowledge that the UK and the international community who already really in the sport is probably like 99% of the audience, right? But the messaging's there regardless. And I hope that they can sit as a resource that people can refer back to and sort of send to someone for just, 10 years of experience of whoever in the sport condensed into like an hour of me prodding them for information. You know what I mean? So, so that's what I've done so far with that. Next year, I hope to bring it to other places as well. So I'm going to get some more credits at this podcast studio in London, purely so when people are in town, we'll catch them, So we get some big athletes, some notable names, people that you want to hear on the podcast, your Dom Tomadas, your Kevin Franzens. When they're in town, I'll try to catch them here and there. But there's some other fantastic people all around the UK. So I hope to go to Brighton and do like a little series there, get people like Standen and Callun and the Pariah guys and all manner of different awesome people doing stuff in the community. That's my next plan. Maybe we'll go to Bristol at some point and just hear interesting stories from the people that the community wants to hear from. So that's the idea going forward, but it's not going to stop. I think after this one, we might have a couple of weeks of break, and then it's going to crack on again fortnightly. It's been fortnightly for 17 podcasts in a row so far. In addition to that, so that's the biggest part of my role. In addition to that, we take on some extra projects. So the biggest one that we've done so far, which has been a resounding success, was initially Charlie's idea to be like, let's just get some great athletes together and really make a splash and make something really cool, right? In the community, which, the idea developed, and we wanted to really also change the perception of parkour a little bit and show the process behind some of these crazy stunts. So you got, your Joe Scandrett's getting millions of views, crazy guy with his shirt off jumping off car parks onto a lamppost. But actually, you know, this guy's been training 15 years and he's done more than 100 of them, and he's never sort of been remotely like in serious danger, right? And it's almost impossible to understand that by just watching the clip. So to really break that down and show the process behind some of the most spectacular and, you know, high risk, super dangerous looking stuff that, you know, it would be easier for us to shy away from and be like, oh, like those guys are just doing that crazy stuff. But we're going to talk about, you know, the safe parkour that we can learn in a gym or whatever. It's like, no, this is part of the sport and this is the elite level and this is how they do it consistently without getting hurt. So that was kind of the idea behind that one. And the community got really behind it, which they have for a lot of our content. But not only that, the algorithm picked it up and you've got a lot of people sort of on their couch after work just watching it and really enjoying it. So that's the first time. It's got 70,000 views and like a few thousand hours of watch, like maybe 4,000 hours of watch time. Our channel was on 200 subscribers when it dropped. Now we're on 1,500. Our channel's monetized. It's basically the first time we've made a splash in getting that message that I just talked about of changing the perception, showing sort of the behind the scenes of what goes on out into the wider public, right? So let's say you've got 20, 30,000 like real parkour heads, right, who've watched it. And then maybe you've got 30, 40,000 people just taking an interest who then watch it, you know, see what's going on and be like, oh, actually they do this, you know, and sort of slowly, it's a drop in the bucket, but we're actually slowly starting to do a bit of what we're trying to get after, change that perception. And we've had a very clear message from the community and just from the wider public in the UK that this is the kind of stuff they want to see from us. Now, it's not something we can always do. They're expensive to make these kinds of projects. But yeah, I hope, you know, in the next financial year, hopefully we're going to do some more stuff like that moving forward. And especially if we secure further funding sources, which we'll talk about a bit later.
And Max, on that, I think it's really important to say we've got a responsibility to do some of that as well as a governing body. So yeah, there's representing all parts of the parkour community. So whether that's, you know, people out doing the more extreme end, whether that's with young people in a really controlled environment in the gym and everything in between, but we need to tell the story of it all. But also at that, let's call it that more extreme, high level end, there's not much content out there that talks about the athletes behind it. So people could see that and just think, oh, it's crazy, whatever, or irresponsible, or you know, any of that stuff that we've heard. Whereas actually there's incredible athletes whose level of preparation, mentally and physically, is incredible. Is really up there. I mean, like I've been lucky to have some bloody good athletes, and like I think some of these people are you know, at the top. And so that story about what goes into it, I think is really important, and hopefully can then hope to promote the message around like safely doing the sport and what's involved. So I think that's super important, and it is part of our responsibilities as an organisation.
Yeah, not to shy away from that stuff.
Yeah, I think as a parent as well, seeing that process, you know, obviously I've been in parkour for a bit, so I know that, but for other parents whose kids maybe are interested in getting started, knowing that people aren't just throwing themselves off a car park down a lamppost, that there is thought and training and a lot of, you know, there is a process behind it. And, you know, you see people in the video saying, actually, I don't want to try this today. That's not my wheelhouse. And seeing people walk away from a challenge is just as important as seeing people do the challenge.
Yeah, and it was fantastic having Danny Pierce there and Dom as well to particularly just contextualize, like, because those guys are also top tier athletes in their own domain, but to really show like the level that Joe was on and the comfort level he had relative to them. And yeah, it just worked out really well. And the next project won't be exactly the same in terms of we might not have the same goal of getting a super impressive high level athlete and changing the perception. It might be something a little bit different, but we're actively looking into doing more stuff like that people are going to really get behind and show the sides of parkour that we don't really see shown into detail. You know, it's filling a gap in the market of storytelling that we can't necessarily achieve through the podcast or other forms. And also because it's like sort of polished and a bit more, there's a bit more spectacle behind it and suspense, it gets out there and people really want to watch it. Like, it's entertaining as well. And so if you entertain people, you can get your message to way more. Now, there's one more other sort of major thing I've done, which was we worked with Beats, Boards and Barbecues, a skating event run by this community. It's run by like a community group of volunteers who aren't skaters themselves, but they sort of bring in the skate community. And they run just an awesome day out in the park. They give some prizes to skateboarders, and they have like free burgers for kids, and there's all kinds of fun activities. And it's just a really awesome, fun day out. They got us involved this year. So we had the Spiral free run guys come, make us set up. We ran some free classes, and we ran like a little competition, and it was just a lot of fun. It was a great day out. We got some cool video content coming from that, and we hope to do more stuff like that, because with our limited resources, it's very difficult for us to put on and organize a big event ourselves. We'd have to pull a massive amount of our sort of annual resources into that, but collaborating with other events is a big thing that we can do. And we did another one, which I'll let the other guys talk about who are involved with that. But that's something we really want to work on moving forward. And like Sam was saying, it's all about, those strong partnerships. So I felt like that was a great success, and we'll probably will do it again next year, I believe. Yeah. And then, so moving forward, like next year, looking to get, do another podcast, continue on with that. Hopefully another big project, like the Bristol project, piggyback on other events. And then I'd like to also get involved somehow with potentially the UK and World Championships idea, which we'll talk about a bit later, So let's go on to Callun on what he's been doing.
Yeah, I realised when I gave him a little intro, I just did not touch on any of the work that I did at all.
Well, that's good. That's what we're doing now.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, been in the organisation for 3 years. Started in a digital support role alongside Lynn, who has moved on from the organisation now. But we started in the same role together. But it is really, I guess, within the last 2 years that stuff's really picked up. Like, in a very positive and engaging way, and no 2 days at work are the same, which is really engaging sort of for me. So, I mean, to begin with, when I started in 2022, we took over the Instagram. We started engaging with the community a bit more. We started, I think the Instagram and stuff before was a lot more washy, I guess, in a sort of way, where it was that kind of early on NGB, we're trying to be maybe a bit too professional than we probably should be like. So when Lynn and I came on board, we went with that community first approach. We were, looking at what the community was doing. We wanted to share holiday camps. We wanted to highlight, indoor venues and things like that. And then we went a little bit quiet for a little bit. And the reason that we went that little bit quiet was, once you guys came on board, we were kind of having a bit of shift with the strategy and the way that kind of things worked. And the way that I kind of always saw sort of that period, the first kind of 6 months that you guys were in. And I kind of take this from when I was working in retail, but it was almost like working on the shop front. So how do we, if we've got, say, a parent or a young child going onto our website or going onto our social media, what's it going to look like to them? Is it going to be inviting? Is it going to be enticing? Is it going to be reckless, or is it going to be dangerous? Is it not going to be inviting? So we really kind of looked at that. And that's when Lynn did most of the work in the beginning, but getting the new website up and running. We worked with a website development company. We wanted to move away from the old website. We wanted to create something fresh, something exciting, something that kind of aligns with the organization's new strategy, with digital first, partners, people, things like that. And now that website is a lot of my working week is updating that. So, that could be anything from alongside, obviously, Max and Charlie, just making sure news articles are going up there, hub articles, like the podcast stuff, just updating the small things as well. Websites do have issues, they do have bugs. We've got to be on that to fix that. But when that website went live April of this year, for me, it really felt like a bit of a turning point for the organization. It was kind of like, it is the new team, coming in with a sort of bang. We've got a lovely looking website. We've got this new content coming out. So before Lynn left the organization, she worked on the Cambridge project, which featured Aaron, which I think was a really good piece for us to lead with that website launch, because it hopefully will speak to that parent or that child, which is a really big audience for us. And it's maybe something that we've not really focused on all too much before. And that's like, I guess, after that website launch, after all this has kind of gone on, that's really been a focus for me, is kind of any piece of content that goes out, you know, even if it's with a podcast or a news article or a news piece or a hub thing or anything like that. So I look at it from the lens of, how can this speak to someone that's in parkour, which a lot of the time, because it's about parkour, it does. You know, parkour people are very much like, we see parkour, we click like sort of thing. But I also look at it from the lens of like, could I show this to, let's say, my mum, who knows I do parkour, but she's not as involved in it as, say, Julie is with her son, for example. So can I show that to my mum? Can I show that to my girlfriend? Can I show that to someone that's not necessarily involved in the sport, that they get the point across and that they understand it? And that, you know, we've now ingrained that into, you know, loads of areas of the organisation that I work in. So like the website, the social media. I always try and show up at events as a Parkour UK representative as well, to kind of speak with the community, to kind of discuss what we're doing. But really, and like working alongside the board as well, to see if we can get that parent and that child that live in that housing estate, and can we inspire them to start moving, to get going, things like that. So, I mean, to be honest, my role takes me all over the country, which is fantastic. You know, I go to indoor venues. I love speaking with the community about how we can help. You know, it's really good to hear what they like seeing from us, and also where we could be doing better. And like, you know, those kind of positive conversations really kind of help shape things. And then, you know, we have, obviously, as connecting communities and digital, we speak quite a lot. We have regular meetings to kind of look and outline the next kind of few months of content. And I work quite closely with Duncan Seller, who's on the board as well, because his background is not in parkour. So when he sees content going out live, him and I kind of have that back and forth conversation. He'd give me some really good advice from his background in digital marketing from a sports perspective on what could work really well. Because we do want to speak to the community, but at the same time, we do also have to kind of move away a little bit from the community stuff sometimes in order to reach a wider audience. And I think that's something that I've definitely learned in the last 3 years of working at this organisation, is, as someone from the parkour community, I have like the parkour way of doing things, where I really want to like please the community, but I also know that in order to move forward, we've kind of got to stretch the box out a little bit. So that, I mean, that's what a lot of my role is. It's kind of making content, speaking with people, sorting the website, sorting out Microsoft Outlook, because that is a pain in the backside.
Teams.
Yeah, Teams, yeah, all of that sort of fun stuff. So,
and Callum, what you said then just about like the different audiences,
yeah,
I think that's a really important thing. Just like with all of us, we want to, and Max, you talked about this in some of the stuff that you've been doing with the podcast, that for the existing parkour community, we want to make sure that we provide something that really serves their needs. That's really important, and that they can see the value that we add there. But also, we know that probably the biggest audience might be people that they don't even know what parkour is yet, or don't understand it properly. And actually, when we've done some of that work recently, engaging with the community around competition and that side, one of the big things they've talked about is how we can grow the sport. And I think that's something that I've really heard that people in parkour are passionate about, taking it to more people and growing it. So that's a balance for us always, isn't it, of where we're targeting. But we absolutely want to make sure those who are already in the sport get great service, but that we're not just looking inwardly at ourselves, and that we're going outwardly and thinking, how can we reach into these new groups that we think parkour can be an amazing thing for? But that's it's easy to say that. I think it's quite difficult to do.
Yeah,
and that's been the thing we talk about a lot, don't we, about how we get that right. But I think it's good for people to know that that's what we're
we have
aiming for.
A lot of internal conversations, I think, amongst the team. And I think that's what works quite well with the team that we've got, is we are confident enough to challenge each other with certain things. So there might be sort of a line of podcast guests that Max might want to tee up, and we'll ask, you know, as an organisation, are these the right guests for us to get on? I think changed some of the podcast shift a little bit. So we got Zoe and Joel on. So we had that mum and son. We had, had Bo come on, which I think was one of the original plans as well. But it was that, we could line it up with some of the top line athletes, but it's those kind of more diverse stories that really going to hit.
We want to hear
people.
from everyone.
Yeah,
I mean, we don't just want great athlete. Like, we want to get every kind of story of everyone who's had a positive experience in parkour.
And then that way, moving forward, we have a resource that we can share with people. So if there's someone who's in their 40s or 50s, perhaps they're slightly overweight, they really want to get into sport and fitness, we can send them the Rich podcast, or they can find the Rich podcast, which is a podcast where one of the guys that I coach talks about how he found parkour and how he's had so much positive benefits in his life with it. It's such a powerful piece, and it's my hat goes off to him because he has made fantastic just difference in his life in the 18 months I've known him or whatever. But I mean, moving forwards as we, kind of go into 2026. So a lot of my role is kind of doing a lot of the digital stuff. So I will be posting on social media. I'll be communicating with the community. Our memberships have obviously gone live, which means that those who have like the gold membership, for example, we do like community features on them. They get like a piece on the website. We get a piece on social media about them as well. So I'll be getting in touch with them, having a conversation with that, trying to sort of lift up those indoor community organizations a little bit as well, which will be like really, like as someone that coaches in a parkour gym, really excited about that because I love kind of talking to other gym owners and other coaches. We've obviously got the level 4 qualification, which again will be touched on a little bit later, but all these kind of like various things that are coming up, I'm involved in from the digital kind of standpoint. So that might be as simple as let's put the content on the website, or that could be, right, let's meet up with this coaching organization, let's get a piece on them, let's have a conversation, and all of that. So it's a really, really exciting job, basically. And it keeps me on my toes as well. Like I said, no 2 days are the same. And it's just super exciting.
One thing I would ask, because it's a big devil's advocate question that I didn't have written down from the community particularly, is on that website, right? So this is one of the most eye-opening things for myself with the organization, because people, particularly in the parkour community, are like, why are you putting all this time, money, and resources to revamping the website? Like, because they feel like they're not seeing anything from that, and they might not be. But when I heard the numbers from when we did launch, I feel like it's one of, if not the most important thing we do, is have this strong website, because that is where the parent goes, right? That's how I discovered parkour. So I moved to this small town in France, and there were no parkour videos online from there. And I was like jumping around the house, and Mum's like, "Oh, you should do parkour here." I'm like, "Oh, no one does parkour here, Mum." She Googled it, like people that did. There was a little website, little dinky website, some guys training. It was cool, and they were taught by David Bell, this and that. But can you briefly talk about actually the traction you get on the website? Because for a parent, this is like the landing page of discovering parkour. They don't look up story, they don't look up all the other things. And while the community might not feel it, I feel like this is, for growing the sport, so important. So I just want people to kind of understand why this was such a priority for us.
Yeah, it was like I said sort of earlier on, it's the shop front, isn't it? It's, there is a lot of stuff out there. Like when Julie wrote the Hub article, like a mum's perspective on parkour, she mentions the first video that pops up when you search on YouTube is like Stunts Amazing 2013 parkour and free running.
Yeah. 2012.
Yeah, 2012.
2012.
Like,
I'm actually working. Yeah.
It's not the best from a parent's perspective.
I'm working on a YouTube video ranting about this as we speak, actually, because it's still the #1 search thing.
It's so good.
Yeah.
But like that's what comes up, right?
Yeah.
And it's, Julie mentions in the article that she wrote that within 30 seconds or whatever, there's someone doing a massive jump across a rooftop. And it's like, that exists and that's out there. But as well, for me, the website is a storefront and it's a shop front where, we can really change that perception and people's understanding of parkour from visiting that website. So, I don't have the set statistical numbers with me, but Discover Parkour is one of the top, as well as like Find a Class or Get Involved or whatever we've called it, is the top hits on that website. People like go.
Well, we're talking like tens of thousands.
Yeah,
I remember. Yeah, so
huge.
it's just good to have the numbers, right?
That-
Because having a good website where these parents hit and you getting, I think one time it was 15,000 people had hit it in the last month, right? That is the difference between like hundreds of kids starting the sport and not. And like a whole new generation of people getting into the sport. And while the existing community won't feel it now, they'll feel it when the sport's not dead. You see, so that is what I'm trying to get out of this, like to understand why it's so important.
Within the first, I think, 2 or 3 months of the website going live, and we had the Get Involved section, we launched a new Google map, like a little interactive Google map whilst I work on building something a lot nicer out. But we have this, Google map that people can go onto. They can find a class, they can find an indoor organisation, they can find, someone that coaches in a leisure centre, for example. Within the first 3 months, and I was kind of doing a summary on the board, that hit over 100,000 views.
Yeah.
So people are like actively seeking it out.
100,000 like clicks essentially.
Clicks, views, like engagements and stuff. And,
wow.
I've not spoken to parkour coaching organisations to kind of be like, how many people have you come to your venue from that? But 100,000 views in 3 months on that area just shows like why things like that are important. We used to have a map on the old website and it did not work. And I hated trying to make it work and to get it sorted because there would always be something that went wrong and then someone would get in touch and be like, my venue's not on there or whatever. It was a hassle. But this, like, we just, I was like, right, let's just scale it all back to begin with. Let's just put it on a Google My Map. We know that from the community's perspective, that's where the community makes spot maps a lot of the time. So I just used that and then bang that on the website. Well over 100,000 hits or views or whatever you want to call it within the first 3 months. And that's obviously just been going up, as well as, the Get Involved and the Discover Parkour section of the website are kind of linked to one another. And, as we move into 2026 as well, I'm looking at building out like almost like a parent portal, as I would call it. So a section of the website that a parent or a carer or anyone like that can go onto that website and they can see the parkour map. They can see the Aaron video. They can see the Bristol project, and they almost have like a one-pager of just everything that they need to learn. And it's so important because, now that parkour's moved so much away from YouTube and it's all kind of going into Instagram, we know that the extreme clips are the ones that go viral. For a lot of people, that's their first impression of parkour.
And their only impression.
And their only impression. Yeah.
I think this whole piece around like website and that's on the question you asked him as well, Max. I think there's two really important bits as well for us, Callun. One is like there's a whole piece you've touched on there with parents going, but there's a whole piece around our brand and somewhere that people can come to understand about us. And if we want to build and grow that brand, right? If we just think of parkour as the brand rather than Parkour UK, and let's even say that parkour in the UK is the brand, then we want our website to be a brilliant place that people can come to engage with that, whether it's to find out like a parent, but it's also then in the future as we want to grow, that's partners coming to it. If you're going to engage with any business or anything, you're going to look them up online, aren't you? Where do you come to? You come to their website. So is that a great experience with loads of great content that means, God, these are people I want to do business with or engage with or that are going to make me feel trusted? Or is it broken and it's crap and they come across as amateur and all of those things? So like you've got those two choices. We want to be the first, not the latter, but people are going to make that judgment about you. That's for certain.
And it's
and the bit I'd say as well with it, like, and I think you've done a lot of this, especially, is we're trying to build an organisation that endures. And so there's some pretty non-sexy stuff behind the scenes that if you're going to, people, and you probably spend time on that more than anyone. But if you're actually going to have something that works, you have to have those you're probably sick of me talking about foundations, but we have to have those.
But that is the foundation because
absolutely.
The difference here between like, so we put a lot of time, money and resources into this website, but you see those 100,000 clicks, right? We don't have the conversion rates, but it's pretty clear that the difference between that and a dinky website with a crappy map that doesn't work could be potentially hundreds of kids starting parkour, right? And we might not get the credit, or like, the gym they started with brought them up at their coach or whatever, and then they're in the community. Doesn't matter. We've still built this foundation, and then years on, the sport is likely to be a lot larger because of it. And so that's the real importance. And it took me a while because I was one of those people like, why are we doing this? It took me a while to realize how important that is.
And it is only a start, right? What we've got is a great start, but it is, so I know you're going to ask later about people's thoughts of what else they want from us and stuff, but we want to build out that whole brilliant digital place that you can find out everything about parkour that can connect you, that can enable you. So it is only a start. I think it's a really sound start, but like 5 years' time, that should be unrecognisable from what we've got now.
Yeah, it's just something that I'm super happy to show off as well. Like, you know, it's before it's kind of been like, oh God, yeah, you could go to the website, but now it's like, you know, go to the website and the community engage with it as well. Like, you know, we do the hub articles, those get like well engaged on our social media. Those are all on the website. We see people visiting those. You know, it's really good to kind of see like how that content is being received. And, you know, now that we can kind of control like the analytics that we can see on the website and stuff as well, it gives us an idea and a picture of how things are going. You know, from location, you know, it's, you know, the vast majority of our visitors on the website are from the UK, which for Parkour UK is fantastic. But it's like you said earlier as well, Sam, it's being that kind of hub place for parkour, stretching well beyond just the UK. You know, if we can have, you know, someone in the, you know, someone who wants to start parkour, perhaps they don't have a community in a space or they don't have an indoor gym or whatever, they can still go to our website and they can use that as a tool to get started. And that's like a really important thing, is it's not just a website, it's a tool. And like for us, it's that tool to inspire someone to get started, or for a parent to go, actually, maybe this activity that looks dangerous is not as dangerous as it is. And I really want my daughter or my son to go and do that. So I'll stop waffling now. And
no, it was good though.
To Nadine, so.
Thanks.
Sorry, before you start, I was just going to say about the website as well. It's been a really nice way for the community to engage with us by writing the hub articles and getting them involved.
We'll get Charlie to talk about those. But yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Have you written one, Julie? Have you written it?
I did, yeah. Haven't you read it yet?
I actually haven't yet. but this sounds great. But because there's so much good stuff, I'm actually really behind.
Our CEO is so busy, guys.
Like this, honestly, like I'm weeks behind on the podcast.
Yeah.
I think I'm 3 or 4 podcasts behind. And I was actually thinking earlier, I was thinking, geez, I need to pull my socks up on this. But also, I was like, that's really cool because we've got so much good stuff.
Yeah.
As opposed to before, it was just, well, there wasn't. So
Watch him on 2 times speed, mate.
Yeah.
Get it done.
You're on 2 times.
Yeah, exactly. Go on then, Nadine.
Okay, so we touched on non-sexy stuff, and this is where I come in. So a lot of what I do is like the behind-the-scenes, day-to-day, businessy kind of stuff. So I guess I do the daily operations, so the finances and the budget, the payroll, some HR stuff. So I manage the day-to-day compliance issues. See what I mean about the non-sexy stuff? So insurance. Oh my gosh, it gets worse. Insurance. So we've done a really useful piece with Howdens this year. So they're our insurance broker, and we've worked with them to basically help them better understand the sport and what we're about, and that it really isn't just the jumping off roofs. And that's what's helped us bring our insurance premium down. And also, I know that a lot of the clubs are working with Howdens now and getting some really good deals. So they've managed to reduce their premiums and also make sure that they've got some really good insurance that's actually going to stand up if they ever need it, which is what's needed. I also lead on safeguarding, so I'm the safeguarding lead within the organisation. So there's been quite a lot of work to do there in terms of getting the policies in place, the procedures, the guidance. And part of that is a Sport England funding requirement. So we have to meet a set of criteria that's set out by Sport England and the CPSU, which is the Child Protection and Sport Unit, and we have to meet a level 1 checklist. So that's a whole criteria that we have to meet as part of our funding agreement. We've just submitted our level 1, so we haven't heard back from that yet, but hopefully we'll get ticked off in that area.
Safeguarding level 1.
Yeah. So Julie's been helping me with that, so we've got all of our guidance and policies in place. There's probably a little bit more work to do on that before it's fully signed off, but generally we're there with that. We have to do the same for adult safeguarding as well, so that's specifically focused on children. We have to do the same for adult safeguarding, which we've made a start on.
We have.
There's a long way to go.
These are the hoops you need to jump through if you want to be a nationally funded national governing body, you know, and Sport England require all this stuff. And that's just part of like, it's the game, you know, it's what we have to be doing as an organisation. Yeah,
we have to hit a certain level of governance. It's called Tier 3, and there's a lot that we have to do to make sure that we're operating to a really high standard of governance. And if we don't do that, we don't get the funding.
Yeah,
it's also the right thing to do, isn't it?
Absolutely,
Like,
absolutely.
I think, you know, Dean, you and I have both worked in other sports, and places where sports have been around for a long time have got some real challenges where, frankly, these things haven't been done well enough or have been neglected. And now they've got some great people having a really challenging time, like putting those things back in when they weren't there.
Yeah.
I think with parkour, where we're relatively new, we've got a great opportunity to build things right.
Yeah, we've had a clean slate.
Yeah,
and sometimes
pretty
it's
much.
easier to start with a clean
Absolutely.
slate.
Yeah.
especially coming from gymnastics.
Let's not go there.
Had to be said.
Yeah. So yeah, and you're right. You know, we've had this clean slate. We haven't had to backtrack through all this baggage. We've just gone, right, okay, this is what we need to do, and we can crack on with it. And I guess that's where we spent our first year getting those foundations in place and getting all of this non-sexy stuff in place so that we have got a good foundation to build on. And it's been good to, like, you know, I go to lots of different conferences and things online with other national governing bodies that are like, oh my gosh, you know, they've been doing this for 30 years and no one's open to change, and how do we do this? And we don't have those issues, which is great. And you know, we have a forward-thinking board that supports us in what we do and supports us in pushing forward. We've got a safeguarding champion on the board who's brilliant, and we can run anything by her, and she checks and challenges what we're doing and making sure that we've got things that we need in place and that we're not doing things. It's easy with safeguarding to go down a rabbit hole because there's so much of it and there's so much you can put in place, and it's finding that balance between doing what we need to do and what we should be doing, but also having a view on our organisation and how small we are, and just finding that right balance so that it's proportionate to who we are and what we do. So that's one of the challenges, because you can just keep going. So yeah, what else do I do? So I also sit on the Finance, Audit and Risk Subcommittee.
Sick.
Well, you know, I'm living the dream. So again, that's part of the finances and the budget. So they check and challenge everything that we do. They have to sign off our budget as well as Sport England, and they have an oversight of where the money's going and making sure that you know, everything's above board. I'm also part of the ED&I subcommittee, so I sit on that group as well, and I work with the chair of that committee, who's also a board member. So we've been working together on pulling together our DIAP, which is our Diversity Action Plan. So that's been done and signed off by Sport England. Again, that's another requirement of our funding, that we have that in place. So that's about how we're going to work with, how we're going to be inclusive in our sport, and how we're going to speak to those more diverse communities and those minority groups, and what we're going to do for them, which is a big part of the Uniting the Movement strategy, which is Sport England's strategy, which is what our strategy has to align to in order for us to get the funding. So our DIAP's now been signed off. It's not on the website yet, but we'll be getting it on the website soon.
Thank you.
No worries, no dig there at you at all, Callun. It's quite a lengthy document because it is an action plan, a 5-year action plan. So there's a lot of detail in there. So it is on me to create kind of a one-pager that's a bit more easier to see and digest and understand what that is about. So yeah, I need to do that as well.
Also, just so we don't run out of time for it at the end, I'll ask what I was going to ask at the end, is if you could briefly explain how that sort of 1.5 million pounds over 5 years kind of breaks down, you know, across like when we get it, where all the stuff goes. Just briefly kind of break it down, because I think that's one of the main questions people have. And we're probably going to run right to the limit of time at the end here.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so basically we don't have a lump sum of 1.5 million. It gets given to us twice a year, so at the beginning of the financial year and then again in October, so every 6 months. What we have to do is a significant amount of reporting to Sport England, so that's in terms of written about exactly what we've done as well as the figures. And then we have to say what we've spent it on, and how much we're drawing down for the next 6 months and where that's going to be spent. So every penny is accounted for in that way.
And how it relates to their strategy. So our original bid that was probably written 5 years ago before any of us were in post, it has to match that. We can't really veer off too much from that. We get questioned if we do. So and just briefly, what is their strategy? In terms of like all our stuff needs to align with what they want to do. What is the Sport England overall strategy?
So it's mainly about hitting those minority groups, the people that are not active. So that's what their strategy is about. So looking at the people that don't have those opportunities. Yep. So that would be people with disabilities or long-term health problems, people in lower socioeconomic areas, women, and Black and Asian minorities. So that's their strategy is trying to reach those people that don't have the same opportunities as everybody else. So it's those that are inactive or not taking part in physical activity. So that's their big push. It's not the people already doing sport. Yeah. Generally.
So we have to obviously provide stuff for those people, target those people, and then if we can support our community in and amongst that, fantastic. But that's obviously why like not all of our resources are always going directly into the existing community.
Absolutely, because they won't be giving us the money otherwise.
Yes. Okay.
So we need to help them do that. And another clue is in the title, Sport England. So we have to be quite careful that money is spent predominantly in England or for people who live in England. So we can do some delivery outside, but it has to be for the majority of people who are living in England. Yep. The money basically gets spent on everything that we do. So the podcast, the storytelling, the videos, our wages, the on-costs with that, the non-sexy stuff, the national insurance, the pensions, any computer software that we have to pay for, any subscriptions, any projects that we do. Julie will talk about the work she's been doing on the qualifications. So the money's been spent there as well. The blog posts that Charlie does, all of the money is tied up in that. And then again, the business side of that, so the insurance, accountancy costs, we have to have an audit. That's another Sport England requirement. So we have to have an audit done every year. So it's all those sort of costs that are associated with the business as well as the projects, any events that we do. We try and subsidise the qualifications as best we can.
And then our salaries have to go through this reviews kind of process as well. So you can't just obviously like, I don't think any of us are getting paid anything beyond what's reasonable, and we wouldn't be anyway because you explained it to me earlier.
Yeah, so there's basically a committee, a remuneration committee that it has to go through. So they have to benchmark against a similar sector. So they look at the sports sector and look at what generally our roles would relate to across that sports sector. And they review our salaries annually, and they have to agree it. So we can't just sit here and go, do you know what? Let's have a pay rise, and it's all good. It has to be signed off, and it has to be benchmarked against other roles within the sector.
Cool.
And that just a bit on that Sport England bit. So they call the funding that we have systemic and governing. So which is like all the stuff that you guys have been talking about. You know, it's about building systems, good governance, foundations, and really, as a governing body, it's had our first lot of funding. My simple sort of view of it is, right, they've said, okay, you look like you're credible. You've got something we're interested in that can make a difference to people's lives. Here's some funding to get yourselves organised, start doing some of the right things, and then we can have another conversation. And that's really where we are. You know, we're year 4 of that. It absolutely next round of funding, then we should be able to demonstrate that we've got that in place. We're starting to do some great work, and we'll be absolutely asking for more money to then really scale that. And do more and bigger projects. And we'll talk about the other home nations probably in a bit as well. But it's very much about building that gives you a platform to then go
and so we've got one more financial year on the cards, and then we're going to be ambitiously applying for more funding.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that'll be across. So it comes in from 2027. So this December, actually, we start having, as a group of governing bodies, all the sports, the conversations with Sport England about what that process is going to look like. And then we'll work with them through first half of next year to start to get that application together. And when we talk about some of the other things, you know, like around hubs and things like, we want to invest in the things that are going to grow the sport as much as possible. That's why we exist. It's worth reminding people we're a not-for-profit organisation. So anything that we make over and above covering costs, we reinvest in sport. That's the nature of it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Anything more from you before we move to Julie?
That's pretty much it. Just another couple of things to touch on. So I've obviously worked with you guys on the comms plan. So we catch up monthly on that. Just put in place what we're going to talk about, what we're going to do for the next 6 months. And we didn't have a comms plan before. Now we do. We need to grow it a little bit, but we're on the right track with that. And then just the other thing that I've done and do is the membership. So obviously we now have a membership offer that we've just launched. We've got a system in place, so we've now got an online system that people can just join online, which didn't exist before. It was all done with spreadsheets, which was delightful.
Wow.
So we're now in the digital world, so that's a big improvement. And part of the membership offer, you know, we've got a basis that we've started from. That's not the be all and end all. It's not stopping there. It's just a starting point. So we obviously want to grow what that looks like. We want to find out from the community if we've hit the mark with that, or if we haven't, if there's stuff missing from that, what does that look like, and can we include that going forward?
Cool. Go on then, Julie.
To you. Cool. So my role kind of mainly revolves around coaching and courses. And last year I led a workforce review. So that was alongside Sam and Callun here in the team. Andy Bradshaw, who is a consultant we've been working for. He's an elite performance coach, so he was helping us. And then we were also working with Zach Winston and Sean Newsham from the community. So we were looking at all of our qualifications, what we felt was missing, what we do well, what we need to do better, whether people thought it was fit for purpose, or they were fit for purpose, basically. So as a result of that, we are now working on introducing a new Level 1 qualification, and that is kind of aimed at young coaches, volunteers, teachers, that kind of level of coaching. And it ties in really nicely with us being approached by Oak Academy, who they offer online resources for teachers across all kinds of subjects, but they wanted to add parkour into their curriculum. So we've put together resources for them. And
it's gone live, Julie. It's gone out.
Yeah.
That's another thing I need to catch up on. Is that last week or two? It's gone.
A few weeks ago, I think. Yeah.
Sam is really
Sorry.
busy. He's so busy. Getting our money's worth out of him.
So that works really well with the Oak Academy lesson plans, and hopefully we'll have lots of schools and teachers that are going to come on board and want to take a new Level 1 qualification. And it also fits really nicely with our strategy of reaching, trying to give every child an opportunity to take part in parkour. So as a result of that, we've got like another piece of work, which means that our current level 1 and level 2 qualifications will shift to become level 2 and level 3. So we're working on the process of how we're going to put that in place. So have a look at our website over the next few weeks and our social media and find out about what you need to do to upgrade your qualification. We've just recently launched our new level 4 qualification, which is going to grow our tutor pool. So we've been working alongside UK Coaching to develop this Master Coaching Coach Educator qualification. So cohort 1 of 12 people started October the 1st with 2 in-person days, and now they've got online sessions for the next, I think, to the end of January. And then we'll have 12 newly qualified tutors, which is great, because to grow the sport, as great as Dan and Chris are, they are only 2 people, and they're busy people. So we need to be able to have more tutors to deliver more courses, especially this new level 1. We've got a second cohort starting at the end of this month, and they will be qualified at the end of April. So that's really exciting.
We had really good quality of applicants, well, didn't we?
Amazing.
We were really surprised. We were originally only going to do one cohort, weren't we? And then and Callun, you're doing the course, so hopefully
I am. Yes.
hopefully you're finding that. Finding time to do that alongside everything else you're doing.
What's quite good is there's now the opportunity. Like, I've gone through my Parkour UK qualifications. It's been level 1, level 2, and it hasn't really had anything to further develop from that. So now that this level 4 qualification exists, and to kind of be involved in the first cohort of that, it's quite exciting that there's now, another benchmark for coaches to strive towards, but as well, like the future CPD courses or anything like that, which we're also working on, we'll go just past the level 1, level 2 now. Like, there's going to be like a pool of coaches, tutors, all of that kind of growing, which will kind of help us as a sport and as an organisation develop and hit that goal. So
and I think a lot of the feedback in the applications we had was that a lot of people wanted to be coach educators to kind of impart their knowledge in that kind of mentoring way to other coaches. Lots of people do it anyway. I'm sure as coaches you naturally do that, but to have an official qualification to become a tutor has been really well received, so that's really exciting. In addition to that, we're creating our own parkour kind of specific first aid course, which we launched in January. We've been working with a company called Vital Workplace Training, and Max came along to Spiral the other day. We did a bit of filming, and we've kind of put together this course, which is going to be on a new online system. So as Nadine talked about, we've, in this digital age, we've got to have a new kind of online system. So that's, again, something we've had to buy in, but it's a great resource. It looks really good. It's really easy to navigate as a user and someone putting the course together as well, thankfully. But it also means with our level 1 course and, subsequent courses, level 2 and level 3, that we can move more of that content online and have more kind of parkour, physical, actual technical learning on the in-person days, and reduce those number of days as well, which makes it more accessible from a taking time off work point of view, also financially, and the online coursework will be something you can access around your current work. You haven't got to sit on a Zoom for a few days. You can dip in and out of it, and even do it on the train if you wish. So it makes it much more accessible, much easier.
That was a consistent bit of feedback we had, wasn't it, about challenge of accessing our qualifications at the moment. So I think those changes are a really important part
definitely.
of making it more accessible to a wider group of people.
Yeah, for sure. So very excited to launch those things in January. Well, maybe probably not all in January, but kind of around the new year time.
January
the 1st.
There we go.
Happy Christmas. It will all be there. January 1st-ish.
Not for end of, it was end, wasn't it? End of Jan. End of Jan.
End of Jan.
So, end of January. Yeah, no, it's all...
You can have Christmas.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and we're also, Nadine and I are writing a safeguarding course, bespoke parkour safeguarding course, because there are a lot of things that happen in parkour, for example, at jams, sleepovers, all of that kind of thing, which are quite unique to the sport, which is really good to be able to give guidance on for people who might be considering having an event where these things happen. So also end of January.
Yes.
Watch this space.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Charlie.
So I do connecting communities support. So I'll try not to rehash a lot of what's already been said. My work day to day is managing the blog posts, which is kind of the same sort of format as the podcast. We want to get loads of different perspectives, loads of different input from people within the community, ideally. We pay writers to write about topics that I can give them that are like developed by our strategy and comms meetings, but also give them freedom to develop their ideas so that they're like authentic. So one that's coming out is about Sam Kopak's relationship with injury in the sport and how his perspective and relationship with it has changed. That's really cool and really valuable, and he's really well positioned as someone who's coming off the back of a horrible injury to talk about that, and there will be someone out there who's looking for that resource that can now find it, hopefully. Not just about asking Dom what his highest front flip is, although that's interesting to know. I think there's only so many places we can put that. So one of the things we want to do with the blog post is like, that we've not spoken about yet, is reframe like what parkour is in the eyes of like both the community and people that approach the community. So like Julie said, that Stunts Amazing compilation, so good. But like it's so outdated, it's so dated. So much stuff on the website is dated, the Wikipedia for parkour is dated. If you try and search for parkour, use ChatGPT, it'll scrape Wikipedia, it'll tell you about tracers and tracets, and like it's about doing handstands on buildings, and like it's not about that. So we're trying to like reframe what parkour is about at like the fundamental level, and the blog post is one way of doing that. I've also done some like project work. Initially I did some like researchy, outreachy stuff to see who was kind of communicating with Parkour UK. It was a clean slate for us. None of us really had an amazing read on what was going on. So I did that, fed it back to the team and the board, and that was like our jumping off point. Since then, we did the Bristol project, worked on that together.
Can I just say something on that?
Yeah, please.
Because I think it's a really important point that we've tried to be more informed by some good facts and evidence in the work that we're doing. So that piece of insight you did at the start and you worked on together, didn't you? I think we had like 100 and something people.
Yeah, over 100.
We got some
like,
good
I
data.
wasn't sure if we were going to get 10, to be honest, like the engagement we had then. So, but we got really good engagement, broad range of people, and we started to actually say, okay, this is what people actually think and say, rather than it just being, you know, the narratives that pervade or what people think.
Yeah.
And we've taken that through to some other pieces of work. And it's not a be-all and end-all. It's just a piece of insight to inform. But I think as a way of working, it's really important. There were some really key things we took from that work, like, you know, for example, people's views on coaching qualifications, on views on how we operate, and actually understanding that like people, rather than this sort of, you know, informal, formal kind of split, actually people had their foot in different parkour experiences. So now you might want to talk a bit more about what we found, but like there's some really interesting things for me there where we could start to challenge narratives, which could inform the work we did. Yeah,
and that in my role at least, continued into everything that we were doing. So the Bristol project, in the same vein, started off as like, well, we need to communicate with the community in a way that they will hear, which is a video, right? And then it became like, well, what do we actually want to communicate? Well, if other people are going to see it, we want to show what the sport really is. Well, what is the sport? 90% of the sport is not the jump, right? 90% of the sport is the stuff before it, that precedes it. So we can take the athletes to the highest level and show that they also do that process. Like, some comments were like, oh, you know, Trav didn't do that. I would love to have seen the jump. He'll do it. He'll do that like running pre. But have you ever seen him not do one?
Yeah.
Do you know what that looks like? Like, do kids who are getting into parkour know that that's allowed and that's how Trav trains? We know. We train with Trav. We know that he can walk away from stuff. If they only see his Instagram clips, they don't know that, right? So it's like constantly going to the community and like getting a perspective and then putting it in a way that is like consumable. So the same with the blog posts, right? Constantly doing outreach, getting a perspective, and then collating it.
Yeah.
I did another research project that wasn't published but fed back to the board about female participation. So that's kind of my role. That's like what we're doing. A load of it's research-based. I have a research career background, like in my master's and PhD. So that's like playing to my strengths there, and then also blending it with the digital content production stuff.
Yeah.
That's largely everything. I don't want to rehash too much of what has been said about content production.
No, for sure.
Reframing, reaching out, and then also running events. So I went up to Manchester to the Parkour Games at Tom Redfern's new gym.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
He was running a little parkour pentathlon, like Parkour Games thing. We're doing all of these outreach events like Beach Balls and Barbecue and Scarborough Extreme, and it would be great if we could have a format game that people can do to get involved that represents what the sport is. And the sport is not a flip or a line, right? The sport is preparation and bouncing stuff and failing and bailing safely and then getting it. So I worked on getting a format for a game that we could play at these events, and it went really well. We had Ed, Scott, and Sean Newsham competing, and some other amazing guys. And a young kid actually won because he just didn't stop. He just he just went around the course and just attempted stuff and tried it, and everyone was just amazed.
But
at
that
his
is
work
parkour. The way I describe parkour is effort is applauded above all else. And that's what he was doing. He was going for it. That's sick.
Yeah. And that's what we want to capture. So that's kind of my role at the moment. Yeah, I'll leave it there so I don't end up rehashing. We'll get to Sam if that's cool.
That's good. So Sam won't be too under the gun because we've got about 15-ish minutes. We could probably go 5-ish minutes over before boss kicks us out, but we'll put you under the gun a little bit, Sam. Brilliant. Go for it.
Well, we've probably talked about a lot of it, I suppose.
Well, yeah, we have, yeah.
I spend most of my time probably, take the credit for what you're all doing, because you're doing the work, really. So,
but it also be great to hear what our priorities are and what we're not doing as well.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
cool.
Before we also, the UK champs will be interesting to touch on.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, as has been talked about, focus initially very much on those foundations, and suppose, so if I think of on the business, in the business, a lot of that was in the business and making sure we get those things right. I've tried to, over time, extract myself from that and then work more on the business and the longer term, but while making sure that I'm there to support all of you with the different pieces that you're doing. And that's a balancing act, isn't it? Of as a leader, I think, or in a leadership role, I think it's really important to give people space to do what they're doing. So I think you should be really clear about what's required and what the work is, but then everyone works differently in different ways, and support people to do that in the way that's best for them, but they know that you're there if you need them, and to try and, that's always a balancing act.
You've been very good about that as well, finding different ways of working, giving people ownership over their own projects, and I feel like there's been a lot of emphasis on developing a strong workplace culture as well, especially early on. So and now we're really in a groove with that.
Yeah, I think we are. Yeah. And I think that's critical, in any team that you work in. So that's going well. As far as priorities, so then my biggest priority, and probably when I talk to Tracy, who's our chair in the board as well now, is how are we going to then on that take this to the next level and grow the organisation and sport? Because we've touched on earlier some of the challenges that other sports have. We don't have, and I don't want to paint this perfect picture, but compared to so many of those, we don't really have any of those issues really. But we do have a challenge of resource, right? There are bigger governing bodies that could, they could pivot and spend, a couple of 100,000 on something because it's the right way to go. We just can't do that because we don't have that space. So resource is our biggest hurdle, really, if we're being honest. Although we're really grateful for what we've got and we're making good progress. So my role is really to, how are we going to grow this thing so that we can bring in more resource, both from grant funding, but from other commercial entities, to allow us to then go after the things that we want to go after bigger and better and engage our community in that. So that's the biggest focus for me in how we do that. And that's about relationships, that's about connecting with as many people around the sport as we can, and getting people to know that we're here and open for business as well. So good example, we're working with a group in Manchester around, I think Nadine mentioned, around an urban sports event, which are traditionally those things have often been around the sports that are in the Olympics of the urban sports, and we haven't been part of those conversations. So, skateboarding, sport climbing, 3-on-3 basketball, etc. And now we're in those conversations and we're part of those things. So part of my role is making sure that we've got a seat at those tables. There's a saying, isn't that, if you're not at the table, you're on the table. Yeah. And I've really kind of believe in that. So rather than people eating us and us being on the table, we've got a seat at the table, making sure that we're influencing things. And I think that's really important for parkour, because I think we've got something that's absolutely really amazing. But if we're not there in the right rooms influencing people, no one will know about that. So that's probably the biggest thing of knowing where that is. So we're here today, but I've been yesterday and this morning down the road at an event that's all around health and the health agenda. So thinking, how do we link into that? Because that's a massive part of what we're doing, connecting with people there about how can we make parkour and sport part of that agenda in changing people's lives. So that's very much what I'm doing. If we come back to those kind of three things then around digital, people and partnership, that's probably the partnership bit covered. For the digital bit, it's sort of the next frontier for me is us having can we get to the point where we've actually got an app that people can connect into? In the world now, people are so used to brilliant digital experiences. So great that we've got this website as a starting point. But how are we going to take that to the next level? Because people expect those things. So how are we going to secure resource for that sort of thing? Where are those next partnerships that we can engage with? And what it's not doing, then it's not us going out there and trying to do lots of things on our own. So, for example, you talked about some great events like the Beach Balls and Barbecue or Scarborough Extreme. What it's not us going is, right, we're going to go and run something ourselves somewhere, hire a place and do things. That doesn't meet that partnership piece because we want to do it with existing community or parkour businesses. So we're not going to go off doing things like that on our own. If we come back to the funding, it doesn't allow us to just go and, we're not allowed to, but you could spend all that money on 2 or 3 parkour parks and it would be gone. We're not allowed to do that anyway, but it's not about going after big projects like that. It's finding the ways to unlock investment in those things. So, for example, we're looking at, there's a project that Callun's doing some work on and with some others around like parkour parks and outdoor gyms. But again, we're working with people like Calisthenics UK to look at what are the opportunities to work together. There's big funding streams there around house building that you can access. So really those strategic pieces that think, right, how are we going to unlock those things that will bring resource in for us? If we talked about Sport England and the other sports councils, because I know it was one of the questions, we are the governing body for the UK, but we are only funded by Sport England at the moment. So absolutely, we're looking at how we can leverage funding from the other home nations over this next year. That's a really important goal for us, and we'll be applying to them for that now that we've got relationships there. But there's other groups within kind of civil society and different government departments whose purpose is aligned to ours, right? They're there to improve the lives of young people, to improve people's health outcomes. Like we can be part of that pitch as well, to build community, to build cohesion in our communities. So it's how are we going to link into those things and access those different sources of resource, if you like. That's really what my biggest focus is on, to allow all of you to carry on doing the great work, but so that we can do more.
Yeah. So like to summarize that, it's like right now we're doing everything we can with this Sport England funding with our current resources. If we got some other partners and funding sources, we can start doing more stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it's worth saying because there was also some things around kind of how that directly flows into the community. So I think we've probably talked enough about the structure stuff, but we're also, like as a philosophy, we're looking at taking a more decentralized approach to things. So, for example, Julie explained about the coaching and that workforce will have 23 qualified people in the new year, hopefully. The idea is then and there's some content on the website people can look at around some of those gyms and creating hubs, where the whole idea of that model is to profit share with those in the community to do that. So rather than us saying, right, okay, we're going to hire somewhere and deliver a course around the country and that's all through us, it's saying we want to empower parkour businesses to diversify. If you look at, we all know how difficult it is to run any business in this day and age, and margins, and we know that's tough. Well, the businesses that endure probably are able to diversify their income streams well, so they're not reliant on one thing. So there's an offer from us there, say, hey, if you go and run these courses, you can share in the profit from that. And also, philosophically, we think that people closest to communities and in local areas know those best. So they're going to know who to advertise to best. They're going to know how to connect into that group because it's not going to be the same everywhere in the country. So that's an example of how we want to diversify. Also with our memberships, for each of those categories of membership, if you're connected to a gym and you've highlighted them and they're a member of ours, then every January, I think they'll get a kickback from us financially out of that membership. So again, we're giving a bit of that back every year. So we're trying to do more and more of those things. That means that you're kind of spreading the love, if you like.
Yeah, so nothing is working in isolation as an organisation.
Absolutely, yeah. That's the idea, and certainly, people give us feedback and challenge us on it. But everything in that strategy, everything should link. You should see how it fits together. Yeah. That's the plan. So building that workforce, and the priority there is because we're not going to get all these children and young people doing parkour if there aren't brilliant, committed coaches to work with them. Right?
Absolutely.
It's just not going to happen. So yeah, it should all fit together. I think the other thing to say there is, in everything we've done, we've made sure that there's always an opportunity for everyone to feed into that. So whether like, the strategy was on the website for feedback for a long period of time, the workforce work that we've done, like there was an opportunity for anyone in the community to join that group. The competition review that we've done recently, we've not talked about that yet, but we did focus groups. There was a survey on the website. So we'll always make sure that anyone who's interested or got something to say in big pieces that we're doing, there will always be an opportunity to feed into that. Can't guarantee we'll do what you say. It's a voice, not a vote, but we will listen to that voice. It's really important to listen.
And we are always open for the community.
Absolutely,
You can email us, you can DM me on Instagram, whatever. Like
100%,
we're always listening, and we do put up. So even for this podcast, we'll quickly go through a couple of them in the end. We put up some community questions. We are accessible. Like don't ever feel like we're not. I think is key here.
Absolutely.
Can I get you to briefly cover the championships plans 2026?
Okay.
Yeah.
So a couple of things on competition then. Like I think everyone will know, like it's such a fast moving bit of parkour, isn't it? Which I think is really exciting. And so naturally, like people have got different views on it, right? And from where the sports come and all of that. So first thing is we've done a piece of research by using an independent body called the Sport and Recreation Alliance, who've got a research team. I'm sure lots of people watching and listening to this might have contributed to that. So we did sessions in up at the coaching conference at Nova and also at the Super XXL Jam in London. There was a survey on the website that anyone could feed into, and we also had some focus groups as well. So we've kind of got the national picture around that and competition and how we work with it. I'll park that for a second. And then if we go to the other end of things, I think internationally, and I've been doing a bit of work with Parkour Earth, our international federation, they've now committed to and announced a first World Championships in the Czech Republic, 28th of October next year. So that is in the diary. It's out there. It's official.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on there. So it's committed. That's it. Like,
awesome.
We've got to do it now, right?
Yeah.
Which is brilliant for the sport. And again, the visibility that gives, and it was something that really came through in that survey, and especially in the younger generation, saw the opportunity of competition done in the right way is a fantastic opportunity to grow the sport, both just visibility, but also how it can attract partners. Real emphasis on done the right way. So, parkour, people having a real say in how it's done and it feeling authentic to the sport is super important. And we're really, really aware of that. But it's a great vehicle for that. But if we just work back, like that world is going to happen. So there will be the opportunity to represent like Great Britain in that. And process for that will be coming out in the new year of like how, so there'll be a selection process, all of those things. So, some people might be familiar in other sports. If you're going to have a selection, then there's got to be a selection policy. You've got to have all of the pieces that fit around that, around anti-doping and all those things we're working on at the moment. So working back from that, we intend to have our first British Championships next year as well. At some point later in November, an expression of interest will be going out about that. We're really open to how we do it. So what we're committed to is it's going to happen, right?
There will be some form of championships.
It's going to happen. Like, committed to that. And that will be being the positive, that will be a selection route to those worlds. But we're open to how that happens. So, and that will be the expression. So there might be someone who's already running a competition in the UK who would like to work with us to make that British Championships. There might be a parkour gym or business to say, look, we've not done that before, but we're really interested. Like, can we work together on it? Or there might be someone else from a more, traditional events background. So, I don't know, at the NEC or whatever, like we'd like to do it with you. We want to have all of those conversations and then in the new year work through what's the right solution. But coming back to our principles of partnership, we want to do that with. So, anyone out there in parkour who feels that they want to partner with us to deliver that, like we're super interested to.
Yeah, and it won't be us dictating. It'll be getting the right people in the room. Your Ed Scotts, your Tom Redferns, strong competitors. What competition do you want to see that you want to take part in?
It's absolutely. It's done collaboratively.
Yeah.
We've got a role to, I suppose, to convene, to pull it together.
Yeah.
But getting the right voice in, absolutely. So that will happen next year. Tom's doing other work on competition, youth comp and things, which probably for another day. But I think the thing probably worth saying, someone coming into the sport is clearly competitions are a great opportunity, both to grow the sport and also to bring resource into the sport. But it's never going to be the focus, right? Parkour isn't built around competition. It's never going to be, and that's a good thing. So making sure that we stay true to the history of the sport, that we do it in an authentic way. But I think if you love anything, you've got to be prepared for it to evolve and change. That's what when things die out is when people are inflexible or rigid. If you really love it, then you should embrace the change. You should challenge us to do it in the right way. But if you stay here, then that's when you become extinct. And we want parkour to evolve. And you guys might have something to say about that who've come through the sport, but that's, I think, really important.
People want to see it. People want the option, and you don't have to be a competitive parkour athlete. Look at what competition skateboarding is. A tiny percentage of skaters compete, right? Yeah. But it's still there. It's an option, and it's massively growing the sport. And adapt or die. Grow. The sport is expanding all the time. You've got like borderline interpretive dance right up to like the total other end of the spectrum with just like running on a speed course. That's just super, super athletic, right? Yeah. So that's all parkour, and it's constantly expanding, and we need to sort of be involved in each of those pots.
And actually, just something you said there that's really important, which I didn't say, is that you talked about being an option. Yeah. So for me, if we're true to our values, and like a big thing for me in any team organisation is if you say you're this, then your behaviour's got to be congruent with that, whatever it is you've said. Yeah. And we've said we're really inclusive, right? So therefore, that means for me, whether you love competition and you want to compete, whether you're not bothered about it, you're ambivalent, or anywhere in between, we should be provide a place for everyone. So providing you're doing no harm to anyone, we should be a place for you. Or if you put it another way, if we said we're not doing competition because we don't believe in it or whatever, well, we're excluding a group of people. Yeah. So we're not being inclusive. So
got to back our chat.
You've absolutely got to. I think whatever you've said it is, almost doesn't matter what you've said, but whatever you say, you've got to back it up.
Got to back it up. Yeah. Absolutely. Cool. So we're just about to run out of time, but we can run over about 5 minutes. Let's just quickly do a couple of quick fire questions from the community to finish up because we had some come through.
Oh, yeah.
So we had one, like, what do you think about the next and upcoming generation of parkour from a young athlete? And I guess that's something along the lines of what's it going to look like for a young athlete in the sport? I don't know if anyone has anything on this.
Who are you excited about?
Well, I think I'm not actually sure what they mean by this, but it might be more along the lines of what opportunities are they going to be. I think Charlie's got something.
Yeah, hopefully things will become more accessible. Back when I was a young athlete trying to get like sponsorship and stuff, I just got really lucky, right? I was in the right place. I had the right group at the right time, the right connections, and I just got lucky. What we want to do is build a bit of a structure, both through the world stuff. I mean, I'm not super clued up on exactly how that's going to go, so I don't want to talk about what we'll be doing. But like the Manchester game event thing I did, some of the feedback we got, because we had some of the comp working party there, was this could be a really good way for young kids that are too shy or don't know their specific niche in competition to just get on a course for a few minutes and show people what they can do and win. And then like at 13, that could be an amazing like springboard. Like the kid that won, I think I saw his profile picture was a pic of him and Ed. Oh, and he beat Ed. Ed. Imagine being that kid. Imagine. That's really cool. And like that, so like for the young athletes, there's going to be stuff like that they can get involved with. Great. No huge commitments. They can just, there's going to be avenues. And also we want to represent their views and perspectives. Again, in the blog post, we've got TurfCam writing about how they're mixing parkour and art and building a team with real strong artistic direction and how that's affected their place in the community and the opportunities that their young guys like George and Cal get. So there's stuff coming. We are trying to serve everyone, and there are not many of us. Yeah. So like
and hopefully there'll be more opportunities to get involved in parkour coaching organizations or in school, and we'll just grow the workforce and we'll grow the general accessibility of the sport sort of nationwide. That's like one of our massive goals, right? So that's pretty clear.
Just to add on that as well, from one thing that I see coming from, our future championships, but the world championships as well, is, potential sponsorship and investment, which pumps money into parkour, which provides more like job opportunities. Yeah. People, you got to think, like when we started, if you weren't like a stunt performer or like one of the early parkour coaches, there was no financial career in parkour. But like, what competition does open for us is, partnerships, and organizations are interested because they can get, their business. And for us, that's going to be an exercise of, making sure that whoever we partner with aligns with us and our sport and our community. But by allowing that kind of opens up the pool of financial investment that will provide more financial jobs available to people within parkour. So, for example, years in the future, there could be an entire network of just writers that write blogs, or photographers that go out to events, and it's all a snowball effect over time, isn't it? It's we're still way off from that yet, but
I think for people's well-being as well, I think we always forget is the best thing for everyone's well-being is to be able to earn a decent living.
Yeah, absolutely.
So put the other side of that, regardless of any other stuff, if you're struggling to pay your bills, you're not going to be in a great place, are you? Mentally, physically. So I think if we can drive the economy, the parkour economy, if you want to call it that, with more opportunities, that can only be good for the well-being of people in the sport. And it's obviously up to us to do it in the right way and to hold us accountable to that, of course.
So I'll do 2 more quick questions. I'm going to skip over there's a couple of specific questions to do with the coaching courses. I think Julie covered it. If there's any really specific stuff, obviously just drop us an email. So 2 more.
Worth saying, Max, we'll do, Callun and I were talking about this, stuff that we don't cover fully in this one. We'll do like a bit of a write-up, won't we, on the website?
Yeah, we'll do a follow-up.
Stuff that's come up, some themes that have come up in different places.
And we won't wait another 2 years to do one of these as well. We'll do a team podcast again, at some stage. Absolutely. But like we said, we're accessible. So quickly, this one comes from someone in the US, but I think it's just a good general question. What do I do if we've got no gym and no community and no one training in my area yet? It's a tough one to answer, but it's a valid question. Does anyone have any? Yeah, go on, Callun.
If you go onto How to Start Parkour on the website, there is a whole page that explains, what you can do to get started. We've linked Jason Paul's video.
Parkour.uk, the website.
Yeah, Parkour.uk. We'll put it in the description of this podcast as well. But there is literally like a page on the website that details how you can get started. It's got things like, links to, what equipment or footwear that you need to look for, how you can get started on your own, or how you can find a community. But there's also Jason Paul's like How to Start Parkour video. It's about 90 minutes long, I think. But there's resources on our website already that you can access to kind of look into that. But as well, like just reach out to the community, like engage with, what's really nice about parkour as a sport and activity is, yes, there are big names and I guess, quote unquote celebrities within parkour, but they're still more than willing to help someone getting started. Like it's not like...
Actually, Jason Paul himself has been fielding hundreds of DMs over the year, and I think he usually answers them, which is crazy. Not to sort of give everything to him, but yeah.
And if you're entrepreneur, so from the new year, we'll have our new level 1, which will be really accessible. So to get going coaching-wise, there's your video with Sean Delaney the other week at Street Monkeys about parkour business.
How to start a gym.
If you want to start a gym and you think that's the way you want to go, well, there's opportunity there. So lots of great stuff on it.
And I think in one of your podcasts, the couple from Spain, I think.
Yeah.
Madrid, you tackled that question. I think I'm really sorry, I can't remember the girl's name.
Yeah, Adelina Salvador.
She was saying there was no one in her area
training
when she got started, and so that's quite a good podcast to listen to.
Oh, good.
About how to.
So I've answered that question very well in that podcast, but I've obviously forgotten. So thankfully, Callum's done it. We are a couple of minutes over, so we'll finish on this one question from, I think he won't mind me shouting him out because he's actually a great content creator in the community from Scotland. Hope we can get some funding in Scotland. It's I Am Flippity. He reviewed our Bristol project and he's been doing some really cool stuff.
I always forget his real name.
Kyle,
thank you.
So I didn't know.
I just think of him Flippity.
I didn't know his real name, but he's doing awesome stuff. So big ups yourself. And he's just asked, what developments, projects, changes are you most excited for? So maybe we can all finish on this, right? It's kind of as a group. So for me personally, I was astounded by the response to the Bristol project, and I'm super excited to crack on with the podcast, but I'm also excited for the next potential big project like that. We're talking about maybe doing something with the FemGaps girls, nothing's confirmed, but I'm really excited to potentially do another major project like that, maybe with a slightly different goal. But yeah, moving forward. How about everyone else?
For me, it's the chaos that's going to come over the next 18 months. So, we've got our competitions, we've got the Worlds, we've got the new courses like going live.
Oh, Worlds, yeah.
I've got to do like the the digital stuff for all of this. So
Callun glues our whole organization together, by the way.
He's the glue.
Yeah.
The glue.
He's IT support. He does everything. He's got his hand in every cookie jar. So just big ups, Callun.
My head gets any bigger, it won't.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited for that because obviously, it allows me to be involved in all of this. But yeah, like it's just the progress over the last 2 years has been for the organisation phenomenal. And, I'm excited to see that continuing to grow, especially with all of this going on. So.
For me, I think it's the events that are coming up. So collaborating with multi-sport events. So there's some big stuff coming up in Manchester in 2027. And just, collaborating on multi-sport events is going to be pretty cool, I think.
Cool.
I'm really excited to get the 2 cohorts of tutors qualified because it will just make it so much easier, my job easier, for running more courses, getting more people qualified, growing the sport. Yeah, it'd be really good to get that out there and, having them input on the level 1 and kind of ownership over it has been really good so far. So excited for that.
The in-person events and the videos, like just more of what we've been doing. Our jobs, like for connecting communities, change every year. We're doing new projects, and like the chaos of these big changes and picking up projects and following them and seeing them through is like going to be really fun.
It's really satisfying, isn't it, to see
100%.
through a project for the community, and get that positive feedback and feel like we're really doing something.
Yeah, exactly.
It's sick.
So, I'm not going to pick one thing, because I think people have talked about some great stuff there. I just think, aligned to what Callun said, it's just about getting better all the time, being ambitious. I think we've made some great progress, and there's periods where you consolidate, but then you've got to go again. So it's like, just keep on going again. What's next? I think we've done a good job of listening as we've done that. So we've just got to, I think it's very easy then as you keep playing on that, you forget to keep doing that.
Yeah.
So we've got to keep listening, keep making sure that we keep focused, but making sure if people have got things that we might need to take a slightly different path, that we're just taking that on board. But keep improving every day as a team, keep supporting all of you to grow. That's it for me.
Cool. Well, thanks guys for 2 years of fantastic, work at Parkour UK. I've absolutely loved, working in this organization. I hope we continue to. And my biggest takeaway from the last couple of months is it does, the previous organization had some challenges connecting with the community. And it feels like we're starting to connect. We're getting people involved. Feels like a lot of people don't hate us anymore. We're a real source. We're a real resource in the community. But often national governing bodies are, somewhat despised by the organization, partly because they're misunderstood. Yeah. So I think we're just doing great work, and I'm really excited, particularly with what's happened in the last couple of months, to move forward. So obviously Parkour.uk, best URL in the business. From the podcast what's on there. And thanks if you tuned in to listen to this, you really do obviously care about the sport and where it's heading and what progress is being made, so big ups yourself for listening through like a national governing body's sort of 2-hour rant on what we're doing.
Thank you.
Well done, jump on parkour.uk and get people involved. Cheers.